But you can see that there as well though. See if I go like that.
Yeah, straight.
So that's me onto my left side. So if you're getting into your left heel, look how much it's coming loose there. I could fit the club down it.
The reason is because you can't tie that up enough.
Nah.
So when you get the proper fit,
I feel
what
like when
it
I'm
does...
coming into see when I'm coming in, it's moving about my foot.
Very warm welcome to Dumbarnie. I don't think there's many better views when you arrive at a clubhouse than that. I'm sure you're all raring to go. Today is all about performance. Stevie, obviously 4 European Tour wins. Stevie's going to be spending some time with Blair, talking about fit, talking about performance.
What you pointed out earlier was the fact that it gives you a slightly wider lacing system, gives them a better fit. So even just, you know, staying in the same size, you're going to put them in Premiere Series with the Packard first of all, Stevie. And just, even if you could kind of point out to the guys, what do you feel different? A lot of this will come down to how the shoe laces up itself. Without even changing width, how much snugger these would feel. Steve, if you don't mind, what I'd look to do as well, we're going to put you in a shoe that's a little big for you as well. And if you could hit some balls in them, just tell us what you feel as a point of difference.
There, I feel it tight.
Yeah. So that
tight at the top.
Is this the same size?
Same size. So I think that the biggest point I would make, you'll see this with your members all the time, is just because of Stevie's foot shape, has a higher instep means he can't actually get that much tighter. So for him then, what happens is the back of the shoe itself, he's going to create a little bit more space. So, you know, get out on the golf course, what does that mean? Bit of movement, blistering, shoe then wears away. So in an ideal world, we class it as a sort of rule of thumb. So if you think of, like, quite a few you wearing Packard, if you kind of set your thumb at the top eye, like that's as far apart as that would like to be. Now, there's nothing wrong with what Stevie's done, it's just his foot shape that's meant he can't actually get it any snugger, which is then why the shoe he's wearing is actually a better fit for him as well. Now, that was too tight for you, you mentioned.
Yeah,
tight over the top, but also tight width-wise.
Tight here and tight there.
Yeah. So even, we'll give you the wide fit in the same shoe. So again, 10 wide, gives them a little bit more space to get into, but what I would suggest is it's still quite a shallow shoe just due to how it laces up. So you then can't get quite as much. So I'd still like to see
here,
that.
But
better
still
here,
a bit tighter there, aye.
So you can't get any tighter than that, which again is why this would feel slightly better. Now the other flip side is when we give you a wide shoe, it's wide at the back as well as it is at the front. So where you like your shoes quite tight, we're probably creating a little bit more space at the back there and you're walking out the back. So things like ProSLX, which Stevie's kind of mentioned is maybe not his cup of tea, from an instep perspective and an arch perspective, that would be a better fitting shoe. But my job ultimately is to kind of fit people into the shoe they like, but the best fitting version of that as well. So do you mind hitting a few shots in these and seeing what you feel in comparison to your own? So you'll notice straight away with Stevie as he walks, like how the shoe creases as well.
I think that would not necessarily affects it when I hit a shot, but I think it would put me off the now even, because my foot's moving about all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, what club are you hitting here, Stevie?
Just a 9-iron.
So it's not even a club you feel that you're going after, is it? And you're still feeling...
No, I wouldn't go at that, no.
You're feeling out of balance a little bit? Or?
My foot's moving about. So I'd be desperate to try and tie that as tight as I could.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. I'd be at that all the time.
So it just proves like the shoe that you're wearing is the one that we would 100% recommend you kind of stick with, just for the shape of it.
It's definitely moving about when I go through the ball, when I get onto the left side of the foot. But you can see that there as well though. See if I go like that.
Yeah, straight.
So that's me onto my left side. So if you're getting into your left heel, look how much it's coming loose there. I could fit the club down it.
The reason is because you can't tie that up enough.
Nah.
So when you get the proper fit,
I feel when I'm coming in, see when I'm coming in, it's moving about my foot.
But it locks in the heel when you actually tie it up the way it should be tied up. So that's why, regardless whether it's wide or medium, you always find that issue in your heel.
That's probably why I've never really wore these though. You know what I mean? I never kind of wear these ones. That's why I've just wore those ones all the time. It feels good on the ground, but there's just too much movement inside the foot for me, inside the shoe for me.
So in years gone by, would you have just kind of put up with that until we've obviously got you into the field, or
probably
you would have just suffered it?
Mm-hmm. I would have wore the tighter one and then let it go a bit wider. Okay. And then it would have been all right. If you know what I mean.
Yep.
I wouldn't have went one up.
And again, that's a shoe that's pretty much brand new. As much as it's a fitting shoe, that leather's going to soften again, so you can imagine how roomy that becomes after 2 or 3 rounds. Like you've all wore Premiere Series, I'm assuming. I see quite a few of you in them. you know how soft that leather gets. So that's where I think when you're getting any golfer in it, you want them feeling pretty snug, borderline tight.
They're also brilliant waterproof wise. They're way more durable than the old ones used to be. Because if you got a week where it was wet, you played 6 rounds in the wet, they were almost away out of shape. But these ones definitely hold their...
So God, that's Stevie that says it's rained every week up here, so you know we're not lying.
No, up here, I'm everywhere. It's rained everywhere. See, when I do that, if I do that same motion there with my foot doesn't, I can't get anything.
But the thing is with that shoe now, you can get your foot all the way in. With that other style, because your instep sits high, it can only go so far. So again, it creates that your heel sits a little bit higher as a result of that.
Right. See, these feel perfect, comfortable.
With the scanner, it's 10.5, but with the scanner, obviously, it's your weight loading. So it does tend to give us a sort of quarter of to half size tolerance in there that I would always build in. And Stevie likes his shoes particularly snug. So again, that would be a comment that I would get from any golfer. How you like your shoes to feel is a huge factor in kind of where we end up with the fit as well.
But that's why you have so many different styles though, because you can't put everybody in the same shoe.
No, exactly.
Same with clubs, driver, everything's all fitted to your... the first time we seen that was Dubai at the start of the year, wasn't it? January was the first time I had actually went on that scanner to get... And that's what put me in these all year.
Brilliant.
Was the scanner. It just feels stable. And again, it's a thing that, believe it or not, it's just something you forget about.
The point for us
ticked off.
The point for us is
when we're doing stuff, all our stuff, you know, every week, you prepare as well as you can to win or get into contention. And if it happens, it doesn't happen. But that's down to the kit. That's down to the gloves, the shoes. You know, 3 pairs of shoes we take every week in case it's wet. You get the right shoe. I've got different spikes. This is quite an aggressive spike. I've also got a pair of these with metals in it, in case you get those links courses that they're kind of almost shiny. You know, when it gets to that in the middle of summer and you can slip. I don't like slipping at all. If I've slipped once, it's too much for me. Whereas I play with guys every week now, thanks to Scheffler that are doing this. You know, so they can't have spikes. So, but I like this spike here. Just put it into it. It kind of mimics metal, but it's nowhere near as sore on the feet or as heavy on the feet. And you can pretty much, it doesn't even, I'm always conscious as well of walking on greens so that you're not ripping them up for the guy behind. So these are really good.
If we do our job right, ultimately the whole point is you don't think about your footwear once you step out onto the course. That's the goal for me ultimately.
Plus, I'm a one for, they've got to look good as well. I think these look brilliant. You know, I grew up with classics. And then went to the classic dries, and then, you know what I mean, and then just evolved onto the icons and then onto these. So it's just been I've just seen sort of technology come in. The shoe looks the same, but it doesn't feel the same for me. It's so much lighter. With
the old like dry joys and the classics compared to these, how did you overcome that initial wear? Was that a case of going on the practice ground? Was it play 9 holes in them first, and is there any difference to what you wear now that you can trust them to go straight out in the course?
These are straight on. I mean, the classics, you had to have a 2-month warm up with them before you got them on, and then 2 pairs of socks and blister plasters and everything. But even if you just go back to the icons, like even the asymmetrics I used to wear, you lift one of them, you lift these now, it's night and day. They were only 10 years ago or something, maybe even less. So, but I'm always a fan as well, is that I like a shoe you can polish. Like you get the black one of these, you can polish them. So, just that's the way sort of I grew up. But certainly hitting shots in these, they're very stable. I like them because I don't really want my foot to move around a lot. I'm not a big one for jumping out the road of it. So hence the reason I'm not the ProSLX. You know, I know guys that have to wear them because they need to get the foot out the road. So brilliant for they guys.
Well, it leads us on quite well then, Steve. Can we pop you on a pair and just kind of, if you can talk the guys through what you feel?
That's where I do my groin in.
So again, we're just going to get through the same size that he's wearing. There will be differences with for underfoot, what I would suggest is a little bit more cushioning on that. I think the feedback, Stevie, at the start of the year for you it probably sits a little higher for you as well. Would that be something?
They're so comfy, they're unbelievably comfy, but it just sits, where I found it I struggled a little bit with this was I do aim point. I don't know if any of you guys do aim point. I felt as if I couldn't really feel the slopes with them. They just sat a little. I sat just a little bit high. I mean, they're so comfy. It's unbelievable. The heel. These are the ones where the heels for me feel awesome. That extra pad in it, the heel compared to that, you know, this one's like so.
I think that's what most, like the comment I was saying, the reason why I wear these is purely a cushioning aspect, but as a slightly wider base. So for my really poor level of golf, there's obviously a lot of kind of tilt and sway in the golf swing. The idea behind this shoe is to stabilise a golfer as much as possible. Again, what Stevie says, that's maybe not for everyone.
About hitting shots, but we were just talking about you use aim point. That's all sort of factor in.
Well, I like this one because I feel slightly lower to the ground, and you know, like this, I walk about in this here, and I think like it feels a little soft on the floor, on the heel, and that's when I lose my perception a little bit. You can kind of get, I kind of get stuck into my heels.
Right.
My bad thing in my golf game is I will get a little bit that way, and this doesn't help me. But I mean, you could run a marathon in these. They're that comfy. You know what I mean?
And how does that feel fit-wise for you in comparison to?
Perfect.
So again, that slightly sort of wider, what we class more as a U-throat lacing. Again, it's for anybody you deal with that says, "Look, I've got a high instep." That is the shape of shoe that's ultimately going to fit them better. We've got plenty of shoes that can go into, but again, for today's benefit, that would be one of the options alongside Hyperflex versus the Packard that we've just had on Stevie's feet. So.
Blair, is that the same size as?
Exactly the same size, yes,
yeah.
exactly the same size. No sort of movement as you kind of walk up to the range.
Dead tight.
Locked in.
Locked in, aye. I mean, you can see if I go into my left heel there, it doesn't even move.
Yeah.
See, it feels when I go into my left side, it feels it sinks into the left heel.
Right, okay.
Some guys might love that feeling.
Just too soft for you?
It's too soft. I like to just go on the outside of the foot and then into it.
Okay. Do you feel any difference over the ball compared to your Premiere Series?
I just feel as if I'm a little bit taller. So I've got to almost kind of change my posture a little bit, bend over slightly. So when you're doing that, it just feels, I mean, it's so comfy. That's the bit that strikes me straight away, is how soft they are compared to my sort of harder sort of on the sole.
And from like practice rounds, time in the range to then like game time, would you ever change your shoes from different styles?
No.
Always stick to the same shoe? Like consistency is obviously important for you.
Yeah, but I'm as you're saying, when you get a bit older though, you want comfort as well. These are really comfy, and I'm hoping the other shoe is sort of right in the middle.
So it gives you a sort of softer ride, plus the quality insoles that we use through Ortholite will give that extra cushioning. But the biggest difference, obviously, Premiere Series is designed to be a slightly stiffer but more stable sole.
It just feels like when I put them on, there's no stress. With these ones, it's almost like I've got to try and find something.
So
I could get used to them. If they said these are the only shoes you've got, I'd go, no bother, I'd just get used to it. But they're mega comfy, like. They're stable as well. I mean, there's hardly any foot movement in it at all. That was a better hit.
Let's show you Hyperflex then as the sort of last point of call, and just ultimately that then becomes, you're going spikeless back to spike, but still in that more athletic mould. So again, for some of your golfers that come in and ask for comfort, these two shoes straight away are those ones that you want to be trying them in. And Stevie, this is the size 10. Again, slightly wider toe box. Again, for you needing that bit more width at the front, might be a bit slightly.
That's lovely. That feels nice. I never tried these ones.
What do you feel difference?
I'd say these are right in between the two.
Yes.
I'd say I get the grip with the spike. They're not as high, but they're as comfy as that. Pretty much.
It's a slightly wider toe box than what you'll feel with the ProSLX.
Well, these are the performance ones.
Exactly.
You know,
so you've got carbon through these as well.
I'm a great believer. If Bryson DeChambeau's wearing shoes for nothing, there's something in it. So, and I know what Padraig Harrington's like with getting a couple of yards with certain
Absolutely
stability shoes. So these would be the one I would definitely have a dig
I think
at.
like what you're telling us, obviously you like spike golf shoes as well.
I like-
so
I
straight
have to
away,
have a
these are
spike, aye.
these would be the two options we're kind of looking at. The carbon gives a little bit more stability underfoot. So again, for you coming from Premiere Series, that's the line we would be.
They don't feel
recommending for
they
you.
do not feel as big.
Raised up.
I feel all right on these ones. They feel, you know, lower to the ground than that.
So it's interesting the feel though, because across the whole range for us, that heel to toe drop is pretty much identical across the range. But what is different is clearly the sole itself sits higher, so you're stood taller. So it's not so much that you're feeling like you're kind of falling forward.
This is more of a sort of clean. It feels a little bit harder on the ground for me. So that one being soft, that's when I go back to the aim point one is with that. When you try those ones, you can feel it in my heel. So I'm wanting the whole foot to be
closer to the
pressured,
ground.
not just one part of my foot. Because then if I'm standing doing my point and I'm sinking into my heel, I can almost give it a false read. And I just want to stand and do a bit like that as well.
Again, width-wise from
perfect.
Again,
they feel a little bit not as wide as those, but very nice, very good.
Excellent.
Good here as well. Are the bits that I struggle with is sort of that bit there. But I like the sort of sleeve in it. You put it in as well. It feels like
the compression fit around the ankle locks you in.
It's in tighter. So my moan with these kind of shoes were that they were a bit too move it. Your foot
soft,
could move about, too soft.
mobile.
This feels like it's a bit harder material. But interesting. You tried these, Granny? Aye. I could get onto the left side a little bit easier as well. It doesn't feel as as if it's moving about a little bit. But the thing is as well, is we do the same though with every aspect of the game. You know, there's 9 variations of the Pro V1. You know what I mean? So Grant's in a totally different ball that I'm in, just by his profile. Same with shoes. You know, guys like spikes, no spikes, metal spikes. That's just what they get the best benefit out of it. Well, as I said, you only need to look at Bryson. He could wear any pair of shoes he wants, and he picks FootJoys. You know what I mean? Because he's and you can guarantee he's tested every other shoe. You know what I mean? That's just the guy he is. And I would actually like to. I do quite a little bit. I've just started doing stuff on a foot plate, but I'd like to see if there is any more speed or anything like that. Because I know there is, but it's never really been one for me to try. If it looks good, I was almost, that'll do me. You know, rather than, I didn't really, but there is something in it. Obviously with how stable they are, and if you can get...
Well, Steve, I think with that first pair of shoes, you would definitely see a difference versus now the ones that fit you properly.
The ones that that would have blew my mind, those moving about.
You just can't use the ground as well as you'd like to at that point.
You're almost changing your swing for them.
But again, that's where like you guys and Stevie and Grant, you could probably find the back of the ball better than 99% of the amateur golfers out there.
Well, the same way, I guarantee you, this spikeless, I would probably swing a wee bit slower because I'm scared of my foot moving.
Right. It's even just mentally for
whereas
you.
if I know my foot's not going to move, you can smack it. You know, that's why I'm... And then other guys are the opposite. They don't want their foot to move. They want their foot to move like... They don't want to feel as if it can't move out.
Yep.
You know, with Scheffler and guys like that these days, the boys that train in the gym that jump out the shot, they need spikeless so that they can actually get that out the road to get the speed. So I'm not... that's passed me by, unfortunately. This feels very stable into the ground. Not as the other one was a little bit clean, where that's down and into it.
So again, would that be a style of shoe that if you were to practice in something slightly different, you could see yourself in that?
I could use these, yep. I'd even forgo the colour. Yeah, definitely. I can hold my finish for these, no problem. And I don't feel as if the other one just slightly sunk into my left heel more.
Right, okay.
This one feels, even when you change sort of, even if I was to go harder through it.
And that little bit more stability on it could even just be that carbon through the midsole that stabilises it that bit more. I like the feeling of just the whole sole feels rigid. Brilliant.
You know, like that's what I get from the Premiere Series. It's just like I stand like that and it's the whole foot. The other one just slightly sunk into it.
Right, okay.
But guys might like that, you know. So if I hold my follow through a little bit, I can definitely get onto my left side with these, no bother.
Brilliant.
Exactly. Any?
Stevie, massive thank you.
No, pleasure.
Hopefully you guys picked up some interesting bits. Yeah, really interesting stuff. Thanks, Steve.
Brilliant.
Pleasure.